So I want to talk about the different options with care and the different levels. If you look in our book, you open to the first page of independent living. And the first one there is Sunset Wood. You can see that right there, the community at Sunset Wood. Some of the competitors are down here. And quite honestly, they're not really competitors. They're just different facilities. And so I don't think any of them consider each other competitors more than different lifestyle options. So let me just run through a couple of options, and then I'll explain how these work. So independent living level all across the county, all across the area is private pay. You're going to pay somewhere between $1,100 in some of the more rental basic apartment living situations, up to $2,500 to $3,500 a month if you get into the Acacia Villages and the Preswick Glens. Some of those also have hand in hand with them a large deposit that goes on there, so that you're doling out a large amount of money to keep your monthly payments low. These are nice facilities. I'm not going to knock any of them. I think they offer a lot of things. Some of them offer 2 meals a day. Dom's facility, Sunset Wood, has 1 meal a day included. I think Preswick has 2 meals a day. And I think that Acacia has an a la carte plan where you can pay extra for, but those are the 2 big ones that I might consider competitors. And then there's, of course, the place in Clinton called Brookdale. And Brookdale's got a very nice facility, similar in that it provides a lot independent care, but provides a lot of kind of oversight. They keep an eye on you. They're very careful about watching you. It's a very good facility. The one thing about Brookdale does have an attached facility or a sister facility that is probably the best memory care unit in the county, so that if you have a loved one who has serious memory care issues, this is going to be the best place for them. Now, I will say that memory care piece, which is 2 levels from where I'm going, I'm jumping ahead, they're very few and far between. So our friends at what are they called? See that? That's how you know it's live. Well, first, man, Brookdale's the best one. We got Lutheran now. Presbyterian has a memory care unit. It's, I hate to say it, and I love Presbyterian, but there are unfortunately it's probably, you have to go see it. Let's just put it this way. You have to see it. But Terrace at Woodlands got one in Rome. They've got a small memory care unit. That's a good facility. Eastern Star. Now, Eastern Star is a full service nursing home. They also are putting into place assisted living, and will have a memory care unit as well. That facility, when you get to that level of care, has traditionally been rated one of the highest from the Department of Health standpoint in this area. So really, really good facility. Again, so those are the memory cares and assisted living. Assisted living, so let's talk about the different levels. So we start with, maybe this is a good time to draw on the board, because I want to be sure that we understand it. We've got senior living. What did I do? Once again, I gave my marker away. You throw me that marker. Thanks. Senior living. Then we have what's called adult care. Okay, so this is the starting place. This is the next level. Then it splits up, and we have assisted living. And at the same time, depending on the needs, you have memory care, which could either be assisted living or full nursing home. Depending. I hope you guys can see that. My first one's not very good. Okay. Memory care, and then we have nursing home. Basic levels of care, nursing homes or skilled nursing. So senior living, private pay, easy. Adult care, SSI. So what that means is if you run out of money and you're in an adult care facility, Medicaid does not pay, but SSI will pay if you are eligible, which means your income falls below your ability to pay the facility. you can apply for supplemental security income that will assist in your paying for adult care. Assisted living is Medicaid or private. So senior living, I'm going to run this anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000. Adult care, you're talking about $3,000 to $3,500 generally. Assisted living is $3,500 to $4,500 depending on where you are. Memory care starts to jump up. You get to $5,000 to $8,000 a month, depending if you're where you are and the kind of a la carte services. And then once you jump to nursing home, you're at $10,000 to $12,000 a month. Again, depending on where you are. Okay. Really, really important that you consider making a decision early. So Don was right about this. Why do you do that? You want to be in a place that keeps you safe, and you want to be a place that keeps an eye on you. The sooner you get into a place that's safe, safer than your home. I hate to say it, your home is probably not really built to care for people that have walkers or are in wheelchairs. So you get into the facility that's built for that, you're going to be safer. You're going to have people watching you. It's going to be a better environment for you to stay out of the nursing home, because that's the goal. As Don pointed out, if you have a UTI, they catch it early as opposed to it going longer and longer and causing other problems. So really important you start, and if you can start at senior living or at least at adult care, you're going to be better off and you're going to spend a lot less time in the nursing home, I can promise you. I stress this to my clients, consider making the move. When I see them come in and they're really starting to slow down, particularly if they don't have any children in the area, because when they don't have children in the area, to keep an eye on them, check up on them, come and visit them, make sure they're eating. That's a big deal. You would be surprised people aren't eating, they aren't drinking water. That's how they get UTIs. They get dehydrated, end up in the hospital. They get dehydrated, fall down, break a hip, end up in the nursing home. These are things that we can put off if we just have a little bit of supervision and a little bit of interaction and socialization. Very, very important. So this is a general price list. We do have specific price on here that will help, again, with the amenities. So if you do want a copy, just call and we'll email it to you, no problem. Stop in, we'll give you a copy. They are handy. But there are probably 20 plus facilities of all kinds on this list. Really, really helpful. Now, what I do want to do is take a minute to talk about the legal side of the planning, which is really important. So this is the living side of the planning. I don't want to talk about the legal side. The legal side is really important. I want to talk about the basics. This is the stuff that we do here. Obviously, we encourage our clients to find a safe place to live. But part of our the things we do obviously are the basics. So will, healthcare proxy, power of attorney are the basic elements of an estate plan. You need to have all three. I don't care who you are, where you are, how old you are, none of that matters. Unless you're under 18, I guess. But let's start with the first. I assume everyone knows what a will is. A will distributes your stuff, right? It gives your stuff to the people you care about when you die. It is your instructions on who gets what. This is one of multiple ways to do it, but a will is the most basic element. A will does require probate. Probate is a process. Filing a will, filing a death certificate, filing a petition with the courts, being appointed having someone appointed as an executor, and it's a process. It does take, I would say, a minimum of 9 months, usually closer to 12 months. But it's a process that works. The courts, there's a specific court set up for this process. It's called Surrogate's Court. That's why they're there. They're very good at this process, and it's very pro forma. Everyone knows the steps to go through who does this stuff regularly. Okay, next one, healthcare proxy. I assume we know what this is. This is where you appoint someone to make healthcare decisions for you. New York State, a few years ago, created a statute that appoints people to make these decisions if you haven't chosen. So in general order of hierarchy, your spouse, a partner who lives with you, your oldest child, your next oldest child, or a child that lives with you, and so on. In order, however, to make sure the healthcare proxy is someone that you want, You need to choose it. You need to have it in writing. And choose your options. What do I mean by that? Well, do you want to be kept alive on machines? If so, how long? If you don't want to be kept alive on machines, make it clear. Make sure that the people that are making these decisions understand what you want. And let's be simple about it. Let's put it in writing. Let's make sure your doctor's got a copy. Let's make sure you put a copy in your freezer so we always know where it is. I know it sounds silly, but we do that. But it's really important to choose a good person that you trust that's going to make the decision you want, and that they're empowered to do so, and that you've given them instructions on what to do. Okay? Now, probably the most important of these three basic items is the power of attorney. Okay? Why is that the most important? Because, as I said earlier, New York State provides us with a hierarchy of people who can make healthcare decisions. New York State also gives us a basic will if you don't have one. It says if you die without a will, here's who's going to inherit your stuff, and gives us a list of who's going to inherit and how. However, if you become incapacitated and you don't have a power of attorney, the state does not give us anyone to make decisions for you. Nobody can sign checks, move money, pay bills, do estate planning, protect your assets, do anything without the power of attorney. This is so critically important, I can't tell you. Everybody needs one. And if you're listening, that means you're paying enough attention to this stuff to know that you should have one of these, okay? Now, not all of them are created equal. Not only do you need a power of attorney, you need a good power of attorney. So what does that mean? That means that the power of attorney has what is commonly referred to as a SGR, or statutory gifts rider, attached to it. That the agent is empowered to transfer your assets out of your name to a trust, whatever. Without that power, you are limited as to what you can do. You're looking at me. I don't know if you have a question. Okay. Yeah. Just want to be sure. So not all powers of attorney are created equal. There's a basic form. The basic form is simply not enough. In today's world, we need the basic form with additional powers added on, plus the statutory gifts rider. Currently, right now, New York State is going through a change in the power of attorney. It is sitting somewhere between the state senate and the governor's desk, waiting to be signed by the governor to approve the new power of attorney that gets rid of the statutory gifts rider and incorporates the gifting inside the power of attorney. This will be a great change for us. It makes it a lot easier for us to do. And the thing is now 10 or 11 pages long. Yeah.
Quick question on this. Can you just quickly say the difference between power of attorney and executor? Because some people that I talk to think that the executor of an estate has the same power of attorney. And then, so they say, I don't need a power of attorney.
Right.
Or vice versa. Yeah.
So that's a great job, or a great question. A will appoints an executor. Okay. Executor. Well, oh, that's awful. What has to happen in order for an executor to be appointed? You must be dead. Okay. That's a big deal, right? I assume it's a big deal. However, power of attorney, and this is why this is so important. A power of attorney is in place while you are alive, but unable to make your own decisions. That is the big difference. Will, executor, you're dead. Power of attorney, you're alive, but can't make decisions. This job, this power of attorney, goes away at death. It is extinguished. You need both. So to Dom's point, you can't just say, well, I'm executor, so I'm power of attorney. No, you're not. Power of attorney, so I'm executor. No, you're not. You do need both, although I would argue till the cows come home that the power of attorney is more important. You know, if you're going to pick one, do this one, but you need them all. Trust me. Okay? So this is the basic plan. They're all very important. I can't stress to you enough how important it is to get one of these and get a good one of these. Okay? All right. So now I want to talk to you because we did kind of limit this to 45 minutes. I do want to spend 10 minutes talking to you about asset protection. I think this is important, and this is what a lot of people want to talk to us about. So let me explain how this works. Here's God, that's blurry. I'm really sorry. You know what it is? It's the white background and the white shirt. I need to start wearing colored shirts when I do these. It's hard to focus for the camera or get a better camera. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how we protect assets in case someone does go in a nursing home and you're looking to find out the best way to apply. Look at this. I'm such an amateur at this. And the best way to protect assets so that either for a spouse or for children. So if someone comes to me and they've got a house, let's say they come and they've got a house and it's worth $150,000 and they've got $250,000 in the bank. We'll use the bank because that's easy. What do we do?
I
Well,
don't know what you did. There it goes. There's that. Okay.
I know it's the, see, as soon as, oh, you know what it is? As soon as I step over there, how about this?
There you go.
I'm going to try, folks. I really apologize. I'm tasking Tiffany, who's also in the room, to find me a better camera. How's that?
Will do.
Okay. So this person's got $400,000 of assets. We're going to say that's their estate right now. And we want to protect this 400,000. What do we do? Let's talk about the best way to do it. Here's what we do. Tiffany, can you see this on the camera and can you tell me what it is?
A safe.
That's a safe. I hope you can see that. This is an irrevocable trust. So again, going back to the points we made earlier about pre-planning. You pre-plan your life. Sometimes you pre-plan your burial. Sometimes you pre-plan by moving into a facility that's safer for you. When you're pre-planning for potential nursing home someday, you want to talk about the best ways to protect your assets and how do you get it. So one of the ways is we take your funds, your assets, and we put them in this safe. Put your house in here, and I'm going to put $175,000 in this safe. Okay. Now, we've now taken this person's estate and we put a portion of that inside the trust. Outside the trust, if they've got any IRAs, the IRAs stay outside the trust. They cannot go in. So let's say this person's got $100,000. Let's say this person has a fixed income because they're retired of $3,500 a month. Okay, and their mad money, their very important spending money is outside the trust, and we let them keep $75,000 because we're very generous and want them to have a good time. We put the assets in the trust, and we start what's called the 5-year look back. And if we get past 5 years, we get 100% protection for a nursing home. Got to put it in. The 5-year clock starts, because this is always a question, when the assets are in the trust, not when you create the trust, when the assets are in the trust. Now the assets are in, 5 years starts. The rules of the trust are you cannot take principal out and give it to the person who created it. No can do. That's a no-no. The grantor, the person who made the trust, can be the trustee. So they control everything that goes on in here. Okay? And they manage it, control it, and whatever's in here, they still are in charge of. What does that mean? Well, it means that they can determine how this money is invested. They can determine whether or not this house is sold and a new one is purchased. They can make all those decisions, but they can't have the money in their own name. So the trust still owns the money. If they need money out of the trust, ever, they can give the money to their children at any time. If the kids like them, they might give it back to their parents if they need it. If they don't, well, we'll see what happens, right? So, but this means that the clients continue to control the assets during their lifetime or until they become incapacitated. It does not put the assets in the children's names. So this is a big no-no. I get a lot of questions. Oh, when should I be thinking about putting my house in my kids' names? I'm going to give you the answer. I'm going to write down. This is a very important answer. Write this down somewhere in your house. Can you read that? Never give your house to your children. I should say it's almost never. There's a couple of small exceptions, but never. Why is that? I had folks in yesterday. They said, well, why don't we buy our new house in our kids' names? Oh, that's a great idea. What happens if one of the kids dies, becomes disabled, kills someone in a car accident, files bankruptcy, gets divorced? What if you want the house back? You want to sell it? What if your kid dies and now your daughter-in-law owns it or your son-in-law owns it and you don't like them? What if your grandchildren own it and they're 4 and 5 years old? Does anybody see the problem with giving your house to your children? Not a good idea. What you're doing is taking your liability and multiplying it by the number of kids you have. That's not how we do it. We stick it in here. Now, if something happens to one of your kids, nobody can touch it. Nobody has access to that. Nobody can interfere with it. And let's say you've decided that it'll go to your 3 children equally. And then one of your children has a problem. You can still shift how the assets are distributed after your death, even if it's in an irrevocable trust. So everyone believes, well, it's in an irrevocable trust, I can't change it. That's not true. There's a lot of stuff about the trust you can change. You just can't take the money out and put it in your own pocket, but you can change who inherits. When we pass it on to the kids, you'll see we put it in little boxes. We're putting those in little mini trusts for the kids. Why are we doing that? We're protecting them from what we call the 5 dangers or the 5 Ds. Divorce, disability, disease, death, and debt. We're trying to make sure that when these guys inherit from you, or from, if we're talking about your parents, that this money is protected from any of these things that might interfere with your ability to use and enjoy this money. So if you're in the middle of a divorce, we don't want your ex trying to stick their hand in your pocket and take this money out. If you're disabled, really, really important, or if you have a disabled loved one, that this money goes into a special needs trust so that the government can't require you to spend that money before your benefits are reinstated. This is a big deal. If you're sick, running up high medical bills, we don't want to endanger the inheritance if we don't have to. If you die shortly after your parents, this is a big deal, right? Or your child dies shortly after you. If you don't have this going into a trust, you leave it to them. They haven't received it yet because you only just died. They die. The money goes to their estate and will follow their will, likely to their spouse, right? But in this case, it's captured inside the trust. Child dies, unfortunately, instead of going to the spouse, it goes to the grandchildren. And because of that, you get to control that it goes into trust till they're 25 or 30 years old, making sure that the young people don't do stupid stuff with your money, which of course kids are prone to do, right? And of course, if you've got a lot of debt, we want to be sure that the assets are protected from creditors so that they can't come after it. I currently have a client who's got one of these trusts and has entered a nursing home herself. She inherited this from her father about 10 or 15 years ago. She's 72 years old. This is not an old person, by the way. And she's going into a nursing home. So we're in the process of filing her Medicaid application and showing her money to be protected under this theory. Okay, so this stuff is real. All right, so that's the trust. This is the pre-plan and how we protect assets. I'm going to talk to you again briefly. I've only got a couple minutes. I don't want to run over and I don't want to bore you. But I do want to talk about how we protect assets if you go in the nursing home and haven't done a trust like this. This is protected in 5 years. If you do this ahead of time plan, it's a lot smoother. If you don't, let's talk about the other option. Oops. Look at this. I must have done this earlier. So, if you have a loved one or you're going into a nursing home, and again, we'll use this $400,000 as the assets. We want to protect as much of this as we can. We spend down, let's say we've spent down on funerals. We can spend down on children's funerals. Sorry, this thing's blurry again. Once I start writing, it's better. Children's funerals. There's a lot of ways to spend down. We got to get the money down, and we end up with this $400,000. Here's what we do: we take this money and we put it in our irrevocable trust. Now we've got $400,000 in here. The trust, in turn, signs a promissory note to mom or dad who's in the nursing home for approximately $200,000, payable at $10,000 a month for 10 months. Okay? We pay the $10,000 each month for the 10-month period. That pays the nursing home plus their income. So if they've got Social Security or pension or anything, that money combined pays the nursing home. So we turned over 400, but we have to pay 200 back. So our gift to the trust is 200,000. So the way Medicaid works is after they've looked into your 5-year look back, they're gonna count all the gifts you made. So 400,000 is the total of the gifts we made. 200 of it we paid back. 200,000 is our final gift. We divide this by 10,060. Have I lost anybody yet? This is why you don't do this at home. You divide this by 10,000 and you get a 20-month penalty. So that when the 20-month penalty is up, we've paid the 20 months using half of the money, and we have $200,000 plus whatever interest it's earned in the trust, safe now, they can't touch it. This number here, this 10,060, is a number that New York State gives us every January. That is our divisor for the year. Every year it goes up. It'll go up again. It'll be about $11,000. It might even be higher than that now, but it's 10.3 something. I'm sorry, but I'm still in 2019. But it'll go up. It'll be about $11,000 in 2021. And so every year we have to do this math and determine how we protect these assets. So this is a crisis plan. Someone's in the nursing home or going in. How do we protect their assets? This is not the only way. There are multiple other ways. There are exceptions and exemptions. Disabled children. If you have a child that lives with you and that we can transfer the house to them and it's a free transfer. If we have disabled children's a big one. There's a number of other exceptions and exemptions and ways to protect assets. Each one is really technical and needs to be dealt with individually. But you should consider anytime anyone's going into a nursing home, there's always something to be looked at, always some way we can try to protect assets. So long as, and this is important, because this goes back to page 1, you have a good power of attorney. Because if you don't have a good power of attorney, you can't do any of this for your loved one. So when I spoke earlier about having a good power of attorney with the statutory gifts writer, this is what I was talking about. In order to engage in this planning for someone who's in a nursing home and incapacitated, you got to have a power of attorney that works. Can't stress it enough. Very, very important. Okay, so I've hit my limit today on time. I want to thank Dominic for coming in. I want to encourage anyone that needs care for their a good place to live for their loved one. Sunset Woods should be highly on your list and should at least be one of the places you look at based on the cost and the amenities. I think you're going to find it's probably the most cost effective, and that's not the right way to say, but the most, most cost effective because you get a lot for what you pay. And it's hard to realize that until you start looking around and look at the other places. There are many other good options, so I'm not going to knock down. He knows that there are different levels. There's some more independent places like Schuyler Commons, which is really an apartment. There's New Hartford Square Apartments. It's really an apartment. The difference with the community at Sunset Wood is that they do have people on site, and they're involved. They're really involved. And they're a charitable organization where the other ones are for profits. So just keep that in mind. So if you do have questions about any level of care, how they're paid for, how you get eligible, I didn't get into the eligibility issues because there's so much detail on each one between assisted living, home care. There's also home care, which we didn't. Today's not a home care topic. Believe me, that's a whole hour. Nursing home, things like that. Please do not be afraid to call us and talk to me, ask questions. I will give you our website is HiltonLawNY.com. Just search Hilton, put lawyer after it because otherwise you're going to get the hotels. So on the internet, we'll pop up. And I do have videos that I post on there. We have a lot of writings, a lot of articles that we've done. There's a lot of information on there if you have questions. But again, don't be afraid to email me, and I am at rkh@HiltonLawNY.com if you want to ask questions. I'll do my best to get back to you and try to answer what I can. So I hope this has helped a little bit today. I don't want to feel like I've rushed anybody, but I will give you, if you've got any questions, I can either put you on audio or you guys can type. If you raise your hand, I'll put you on audio and you can ask away to either of us. If you're trying to hide behind the camera, that's okay too. I want to see, there's a question here, but can we just call and set up a tour?
Absolutely.
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 Just call Dominic and they're easy to find.
Yeah.
And
Google us.
right? Oh,
Yeah.
we got a couple raised hands here. Well, there's a bunch of people in here now. When did you guys come in here? All right. Does anybody want to talk? I'm gonna let you talk. It looks like you got a raised hand, Laura. If that works, if you want to.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hi. The irrevocable trust, you put money in there, you're not allowed to take the principal that you put in out.
Correct.
But if you needed money, how do you get it out?
You, as I said, well, where's my picture? Huh? Easier if I show you the right picture. Well, what you do is you can give it to your children.
Okay, I only have one child, so
Okay, that's better
One
than none,
child.
trust me.
I have two, but one is living.
Okay, so you give it to your child
Yep,
and he or she can give it back to you. right?
okay.
There's no restriction on you giving it to them. There's no restriction on them giving it back to you. The only issue is if it's over $15,000, you're required by law to file a gift tax return. Other than that, there's no real restriction on it. So, and there's no tax to be paid.
So if I needed like $5,000, my son could take it out of the trust and give it right to me?
Well, you give it to him because you're in charge, so he can't take it. You write him a check. So you're still in control of the money, which is important, right?
Oh, okay.
And then he can give it back to you. There's no restriction in the law about doing that, correct?
Okay, so if I can pull it out and give it to him. I can't pull it out and give it to myself. Is that correct?
Correct, you cannot. That's very, very prohibited.
Okay, so
Yeah,
pull it out and give it to him, and then he in turns cashes the check and gives it to me. Who pays taxes on?
No tax.
No tax on that.
Unless you sold stock or something to get the cash, you would
Okay.
pay the tax on that. You pay the tax on everything in the trust.
Okay, and if you sell the house, like if I put my house in a trust and I sell the house,
Mhm.
then how do I get the money goes into the trust from the sale of the house? How do you get the money out? My son would, or I would write my son a
So-
check?
So let's say you want to buy a new house, small house, smaller
Yes.
house, right?
Right.
Which of course, my clients are doing a lot of funny things. They're downsizing and spending more money, right? So they sell their big colonial and they buy a
Yep.
ranch, and it costs them more money.
Yes.
What you do is the money goes into the trust. When you
Yeah.
sell it, and then the trust buys you a new house. So
The
it doesn't
trust-
come, yeah, it doesn't come out of the trust. It stays in there.
Oh, okay.
That
Okay.
makes sense? Okay.
The money stays in there, so the money is buying the new house.
Correct, correct.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh-huh. Thank you.
all right, you're welcome. I'm gonna see, I think I have another raised hand here. So, oops. What'd I do? Did I lose you?
Am I unmuted?
Oh, I'll mute you, Laura. And then Jennifer had a question, so if you want to talk, Jennifer, you can ask a question.
My question is the power of attorney, is that a family member you designate or is that your lawyer?
No, so, oh God, no, not the lawyer, please. I got enough to do. I can't run around and take care of you. As much as I like you already, I can't do that. So, no, it's usually, well, if you're married, it's usually your spouse, right? And if you have children that are adults, it's usually the children. Often if you have young children, people are picking their parents or their siblings to do it. Until their children get old enough to do it. Once their children are old enough, they're usually the go-to group. Who is more likely to take care of you? Who is the most likely to take care of you? Hopefully it's your kids. Although I think the jury's out on the millennials right now. So you'll have to make a decision if you have millennials for children. Okay.
Okay.
That's supposed to be funny. I'm sorry if it's not. All right. Any more questions? I got another hand. No? No questions? I can't. Oh, Laura's got her hand up again. Okay. Laura, you're coming in again.
Okay. I have a power of attorney and I have my husband
Mhm.
as the power of attorney. And then I have an alternative. I think it
Yes.
would be my son. My son had passed away. He's still on there as alternative. Is that something I would need to update or not until my husband passes or?
No. I'm a big believer in having three people named. Primary, two alternates.
Okay,
Because and just like what happened to you, you lose one of them. Now
yes,
you've only got one, right?
yes,
And your one is the same age as you, or at least close in age to you. So
yes.
now you lose them, you got none. That's unacceptable. And so that's why I always try to get people to put primary and two alternates, usually spouse and a couple kids.
Okay, what happens when you only have one kid, though? You got a spouse and one kid.
Then you got to dig deep on your bench. I call it your bench, right? So
Okay,
your bench is comprised of those people that you care about and they care about you, and who have your legal back when the rubber hits the road. How many metaphors did I just use there? Did you like that?
Okay.
But it's important that you do have someone that you can rely on in
Mhm.
these circumstances, because if you're flat on your back and can't pay your bills and can't make decisions, boy, you're in trouble.
Okay, and I have a will too, of course, with my husband and my son who passed. I was told before by another lawyer that as long as my living son could show a death certificate, he would be okay if something happened to us together, my husband and I. Is that correct?
Well, that's a little simple, but without seeing the will, I can't answer that. My
Okay.
guess is if you leave everything to both your children equally and one is
We
passed.
did.
Did your child who passed have children?
No, no children, no spouse, just himself.
Okay, so to be fair about that, that's, it does make it simpler.
Hmm.
I don't want to be unkind, but it is simpler, obviously, that in those respects. In legal respect, it's simpler. But I think anytime, and here's my rule of thumb for anybody listening. If you have a will, if it's more than 5 years old, you need to review it. I have a simple rule. We're probating a will right now that's like 40 years old. I mean, this stuff, first of all, half the time I got to chase down witnesses that have been dead for 20 years. You know how hard it is to get a dead witness to sign something? It's very difficult. Finding lawyers that are out of practice, finding the original wills because it's been so long. It's a rule of thumb, 5 years.
Okay.
Because things change, as you know, things change. And so
Yeah.
it's really important to keep that stuff going. Your life changes.
If
Right?
you have a trust, do you also need a will?
You do, they work together, yes.
They work together. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good questions today. I didn't realize I could do this audio part, so this is really good. All right, Laura, I'm gonna mute you, and I'm gonna see if anyone else has a question. No, we had like 4 or 5 today, so that was good.
Yeah.
If you don't have any questions, as I said, you guys can direct communicate with us. That's not a problem. Tiffany's also in the room. She is my assistant, and so if you call and ask her a question, she'll track me down and hunt me down and get the answer, or figure out a way for us to get you the answer. If it's a pretty complicated question, I'll probably just have her schedule a phone call because it's easier back and forth just to do that. And I do a lot of phone calls for people. There's no charge. I should be careful in saying that, but I do a lot of phone calls with people just to get, if there's questions and answers that I can help you out with quick, it's worth doing. Okay. This stuff's important. I don't take it lightly. And I do think that it's important to understand the issues. Obviously it's legal stuff. So if you're not a lawyer, sometimes it's hard to understand. So that's why we're here to help. Again, do visit the website because it does have a ton of information on it. And do please consider Sunset Wood for you or your loved one. I think it's important. Thanks to Dom again. Thanks to Tiffany for backing me up tonight. All right, guys, everybody have a nice night and hope all is well.